Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Chaotic gods versus the one sovereign true God. In the story of Yusuf, in verse 39, Yusuf is engaging in a dialogue with the prisoners. Even though they've had a very good relationship together, he never misses an opportunity to call people to the truth. And these people, we assume from the Quran, are polytheists. In other words, they believe in more than one God. And so what Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam does is that he engages with them in a very polite way, but in an intellectually stimulating way. He says, Ya sahibahi sijn. Look at the way he addresses them. He doesn't say, oh convicts or evil people. He says, oh my fellow prisoners. Because he wants their attention, he wants to bring them close. Ya sahiba yissijni, my fellow prisoners. أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار? Which is far better, many different lords or Allah, the one, the supreme. Then he continues, ما تعبدون من دونه إلا أسماء سميتموها. He continues and he says, whatever idols you worship instead of Allah, instead of Him, are mere names which you and your forefathers have made up. Allah never authorized this particular practice. It is Allah who decides. And then he continues and he talks about Allah's religion. So many people around us today believe in some form of God, some form of divinity. Some picture a God who created everything, possessing knowledge and power to do so. Conversely, others see creation itself as gods or pathways to reach Him. So in other words, there are people who see directly Allah and Allah's presence everywhere in His creation. But then there are others who make His creation gods. They make statues or they worship those things which are other than God. For example, people might start worshipping the moon or the stars or celestial spheres and the like. So Yusuf alayhi engages with them and he says, have a reflection, think about this. Does it make sense to have many gods, or does it make more sense to have one God? And so Yusuf alayhi is a proclaimer of truth. This is what we need to be, to stand up as people who stand up for the truth. And he says, oh my fellow prisoners. This cultivates a sense of connection with them. So before he talks about anything, he brings them really close through his dialogue. And so people can very easily be misled, and it's our duty as Muslims to correct misunderstandings of our faith. So this is how Yusuf starts. He brings them close, and then people have misunderstandings about our religion. So we sit with John or Tony or anybody else, and we try and find out where their misunderstanding may be, and we try to explain our faith to them in a way that's simple and corrects many objections or misunderstandings that they may have. We don't need to worry about the details. We can let the scholars come in and help us with that. And then what Yusuf alayhi says is, well, have a think about this. If you had many gods, you'd have problems. Say you had two gods. Say, for example, there's God A and B. And God A wanted it to rain right here at this moment in time. And God B didn't want it to. That means, well, God B is not so powerful after all. Or even if God B gave God A permission to say, well, I'll let you have rain today, that still makes him deficient because he's had to give up his power or his choice or his free will and give that to God A. So you see here that it doesn't make sense to have more than one God. It's irrational, and it makes that God powerless and impotent in many ways as well. And of course, if you had many gods, you would have chaos in the world. We see this in just human interaction. Too many chefs spoil the broth, as they say as well. So this is how Yusuf alayhi engages with them and says, well, really, there's only one God who controls everything. Every breath you take is known by Allah. How many you will take in your entire life, Allah will know. How many heartbeats you will have in your entire life, Allah knows. And that's just not for you. For every single human being from Adam until the end of time, God knows how many people will come. God knows how many breaths each one of them will take. God knows exactly how many heartbeats they'll have. God knows how much rain is going to fall, where it's going to fall, and how quantities. God knows everything. His knowledge encompasses everything. This is the Allah that we are seeking in these blessed days and nights of Ramadan, that we're trying to find peace. We're not running around here and there, but we're content. We have Qana'a. Qana'a means that we are content with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we're happy with what Allah has written for us, and that we are just like Yusuf alayhi salatu salam, that wherever we are, whatever situation we are in, we turn to Allah and we have yaqeen that everything is in the qadr, control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I leave you with that. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Success of our channel is all down to our viewers, people like yourselves. So make sure you like, subscribe, share the content that we produce. And if you really want to support us, you can do financially. The link is provided here, and we'd love for you to be on this journey with us of spreading the sacred knowledge and guiding people to the truth of Islam.